I would like to give you an explanation as well as demonstration of how JCB deals with Joomla's implementation when in regards to creating of database tables as well as updating them or even adding more. Joomla is a way of doing this through specific file convention within your component's file structure package. JCB has also been designed to actually detect changes in your component's development and create those files for you. So the best way to illustrate this is, well, let's just compile a component. So we have similar distributor here. I'm just going to compile that for us. And then we'll go to the zip file, we'll unzip it, have a look at it, and see those files. Okay, here's the file. I'm going to just extract it here. And inside of this we have an admin folder, and inside admin a SQL folder. And here is the first file of interest. It's what Joomla uses to actually build the database upon the first install of the component. Do take note that it runs this file only on a fresh install of the component. Thereafter it will not run it again, even if that file gets updated, even if more values get added, and usually it does. JCB updates this file as you create new views, which then it means a new table, and if you add fields, which means a new column or field in the database. And so this file will update, but it is for those clients of yours that are going to install the component for the first time. All those who already have the component installed, this file will mean nothing to them. All the files in this update folder is what would actually be relevant. Now if you have a client which has version 1.3.2 installed on his system, and he gets this package from you, this 2.0.0 package, it'll actually start with this file, then that one, and so forth. It will start with the file which is the same version as the version that is currently installed on the Joomla website. So that means JCB builds these files in that expected way. Okay, now let's go make a change to the component and see how JCB updates these files. I'm just going to install the component so we have it in the database. We can look at the database in a moment to see how things change. Now I'm going to open the admin views, and I'm going to add a field to the admin view called sermon. It's just going to be any generic field so that we can at least see it in action. I'm going to call it mobile telephone and just put it in the 4th position, the left tab. That's not really important, but okay, so there we go. We added a field. Now you could at this point also add a new view, and JCB will detect both of them and will add both of them to the update file. But you could even do that, make this change, run the compiler, have this new update, then make another change, run the compiler, and it will follow along incrementally, incrementing the version value of the component as you go. Just for our sake, maybe let me add a view already in another view, and then you'll see how JCB combines these values into one update. So I'm going to grab a view that isn't already part of this component, and just for illustration, and save and close. So there we go. We got a view and a new field. If we compile the component now, it will do all those things that I've explained. So there you see it's incremented into 2.0.1, and if we go to the zip file and again extract it, open it up, admin, SQL, updates, we now see there's actually a new file. Let's open this file just and investigate a little. So we see here's the command to actually add that new field, and here is another one to create that new table. And all of that has been placed into this 2.0.0 file, which, like I said, is the current version of this installed component. If we look at the database at this point, you see there is no look table, and if we look in the sermon table and the structure, then we see that there is, no mobile field here. Okay, so let's install it now and see the change. Okay, it's been successful. Go back to the table. Let's just refresh this. And there you have it. Got the field added. And if we go back to the new table that it had to create, we scroll down, and there is the new table. So it's done both of those as expected. Secondly, let me show you where it made some changes in JCB to relation to this component. So you'll see that the component has automatically incremented its version number. If we open this component updates area, you'll see that it has dynamically stored those same values that we saw in the file here next to the correct version, and it has actually created a new version entry. You'll have to manually update this URL, as there are too many variations here. We couldn't actually implement this dynamically. This URL is what is being used in your update server file if your component is set to have an update server file. And so at this point you can now continue even adding another view or even another field, and it'll just the same, it will increment it and it will update your database upon installation. And really that is as simple as it is. There are some places where that behavior may not function as expected. The only one I'm very much aware of is the one that happens when you actually import or export a component from one JCB to another. Those of you that have used this, you can export a component and then import it again. That effectively creates all the data in the relation to JCB, but it doesn't recreate the history and the asset IDs and everything else which is related to its integration within the Joomla interface or database. So that means, for example, there's no history regarding the admin views, and the only way to start any history for that view would be to open it and to save and close it. That's the only way. Now that specific area will have a history track. The same goes with the admin views. You have to open them and save them, this one, not the admin view itself, but the actual fields of the admin view. Open them, save them again. This will create its first entry and serve as a reference point to the last time to which those values were changed. If you compile the component at that point, it will actually add the component ID to that specific entries and use it as a reference point, like I've said. Then after having compiled it, so you first save them, then compile the component, and then only start making your changes, so that you'll basically bring the component into the motion of what would be the natural flow of development. This natural flow is that you would create a component, add views, then add fields to it, all along saving, closing, saving, and that generates the history values that we actually need to detect changes. If we import a component, none of those values exist, and so it won't behave as expected. Well, that's just a heads up. I suppose many of you might not even have this issue, but if you do, you will know at least where to look and what to do to fix it. Anyway, that is a quick overview of JCB's implementation to correspond to Joomla's conventions in creating tables and updating them dynamically through the SQL files in the updates folder. And yes, I hope that this is going to be helpful to those of you that may not have understood this before. Thanks for watching.